Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Hi, Bob and Deb from Kentucky. Hi, Tracy from Ohio. Great to see everyone. I'm not going to say hello to as many people as I have so much in the past because I have to go to my Mighties at about 20 after the hour, and from there I go to a large study group meeting with Joe in my study groups, and I think that it's important that you know about these study groups. But before I even get into that, let me tell you, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to teach you homeopathy, to share with you what I have learned through the years, and I still continue learning. I don't stop. I don't want you to stop. I hope you expect me never to stop. We're always going further, learning more, memorizing. If we don't know our materia medica, we memorize the homeopathic medicines that we know that are good for our families. And so for those of you who do know me, hi friends, I see you all coming in. It's wonderful to see you. Thanks for joining me. Hello from Wisconsin and from Chicagoland and Pennsylvania, Oklahoma and Nashville. Great to see you from Yorktown, Virginia, and Topeka and Ontario. Yeah, it's great to see everyone. Hello, friends. So I'm in Florida, and we were not harmed at all on the East Coast. It was all on the West Coast, and it was, as you know, pretty devastating. And so I have some team members who live on the West Coast and a cousin, and I was kind of keeping up with my team members as to what was going on. They were evacuated, and it was unnerving for them. It was very concerning. Now, they were safe. It turned out they were all safe. But that's not the only thing that they had to worry about was their own safety. They were also worried about their own friends, their community. So with all that bad news, I want to remind you that homeopathy has a place for those who have gotten a lot of bad news, either one big fat event of bad news or continuous bad news. It can give someone the jitters. It can give them deep sadness. It can make them even feel guilty. Survivalists' guilt is what I've been hearing from one particular team member of mine. And it's hard to keep a clear mind when we need to help others rather than just be worried. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I want to tell you that if I look in my repertory, and that's what I would, of course, encourage everyone to do, to use your repertory. I mean, I like that you use Joette's, my courses, and you go to Joette's Learning Center, and you go down to Mindful Homeopathy so that you can study from that course. But let me also tell you that what I teach are a lot of protocols, but I also teach to use a repertory. Now, this is Robin Murphy's 4th edition of the Meta Repertory, as you can see here, 4th edition. And I'm going to go to the Mind section. I'm going to the area under B for Bad. Now, there are many ways to look this up, but I'm going to look under Bad News. Bad news. If you happen to have this 4th edition of the Meta Repertory by Robin Murphy, then you can follow along with me on page 33. And so there are a number of medicines that we use for bad news. Ailments from bad news. Mortifying effects. They affect him very much. Sad, depressing news after a headache. And from shock. And so we have a number of remedies, and I'm going to show you what this page looks like. I'm going to use one finger here. I hope you can see this right here. I'll try to hold it steady so you can see. Ailments from bad news. And the main medicine is gelsemium. Gelsemium is bold, capped, and underlined. And it's one of our main medicines when someone gets bad news. It doesn't have to be one event. As I said, it can be a series of events. And so it's Ignatia is very important too. It's not bold. It's not underlined. It is bold. Carcinosin, calc carb is in there. Natrum muriaticum is in there. These are all the top medicines that we consider for when someone has been hit by bad news. This is the first time I heard the use of gelsemium was a story of a mother during the Civil War, because homeopathy, of course, was used ubiquitously throughout the United States during around the late 1850s, around the Civil War time. And a soldier knocked at her door and reported to her that her son had passed away. And of course, she collapsed with angst and with grief. And the bad news was so horrible that she physically was made very ill, and it lasted for many, many months from that moment. And what's if we look at this from a human perspective, what happens to us humans when these things happen? She was perfectly fine when she went to open the door. She got the news, and from that moment, that information turned her life completely around and made her very ill. And the reason I remember that so strongly, of course, is because I have sons, and those, mothers do have those thoughts from time to time. And so the doctor that prescribed the remedy for her gave her gelsemium, Gelsemium, gelsemium. Excuse me. And it was only a 30th potency. I say only because people think that you have to use high potencies for something that's very extreme, but that's not so. It's not so. 30th potency of gelsemium, twice a day, maybe even 3 times a day for a few days, and then from that time forward, maybe twice daily for quite some time. If that didn't act enough, we could certainly consider going to a 200C, no doubt. We could even go higher than that. But generally speaking, 30s and 200s do really good work. So do 6s, so do 12s. Low potencies can do very good work. So it turns out that, shortly after this story occurred, after she was given gelsemium, and it helped her a great deal, she still suffered from grief, but the shock was not so extreme. Her son came home, and the information was erroneous. He had not died on the field during the war. Instead, he was alive and well, and he came home to his mother. And so it was a memorable story, and that's how it helped me remember that gelsemium is one of our great medicines for ailments from bad news. What kind of ailment? Could be pretty much just about anything. It could be fainting, it could be anxiety, it could be insomnia, etc., etc. Now, I also have to tell you that most people would think of using Ignatia, and Ignatia might have been a good choice, especially for this mother, because the grief was also a big part of the bad news. It was bad news followed by grief. But I spoke to a team member today who has been suffering from the devastation in her area on the west coast of Florida. And she and her husband were not harmed, but others were. And she keeps getting phone calls from people who are suffering. And so, as I said, she felt this terrible guilt, but she mostly was feeling lately not only this depression or angst or overwhelming sadness and feeling too empathetic, that she took Ignatia, and she said it didn't help at all. She took it a number of times, which of course is what we should do. She used it in a 200C, and it did not seem to help her. And she knows me well. She knows what we do. She's part of our team. And then she took a dose of Aurum Metallicum, 200C. She said she had not seen a change yet. She only took it last night. But then she said something really important. She felt jittery, like a vibration inside. And often when we talk about about depression, aurum metallicum can only go so far in certain people. We also have to add another medicine so that they're both being used in the same schedule. So I suggested that she use Coffea cruda 200C to help with the jitteriness and finish the work that aurum was hopefully going to start. Now, I told her to go ahead and start this and give it a couple of days and then, of course, get back to me. I'm in communication with her pretty much every day, and I'm sure I'll hear about it. Hopefully, she'll be comfortable about mentioning it to me and see if it made a difference. If it does not make a difference for her, my guess is the jitteriness is going to come down. The inner trembling, I think, is another way she put it. If we don't see a shift from that, and in addition to that, where there's still no shift with the depression and feeling too empathetic with all of the sadness around her, then we are going to switch to, most likely, gelsemium. So, no sound? Some people are saying, no, they have sound. Let me get a little bit closer, see if that makes a difference, okay? So, let's see. How about anybody else having any problem with sound? No, everyone can hear me. Good. One person had no sound, but maybe that's from your end. I'm hoping that it's just localized. All right. Yeah, it's pretty devastating. Sound is fine. Good. Thank you. Hi, Christy. Nice to see you. So that's how I would start this. Aurum metallicum is 200C is an excellent medicine for depression, feeling responsible, and in a way that's what she was describing to me. She was feeling responsible. There was more she wished that she could have done, but she felt as though she couldn't do much of anything. So that was a big part of why, she started with aurum. Even if she had not started with it, I think I would have suggested aurum, because she's also happens to be a very responsible person in general and felt even more responsibility. And if you read up on the remedy aurum metallicum, you will see that it generally fits a person who has a lot of responsibilities, is a responsible person, and feels hemmed in by inability to be able to help others. Oh, good. I sound clearer. I'm glad to hear that. That's good to hear. Good. All right. Now, folks, I'm looking at all of my forums here, Mighty's and Facebook and etc. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting all your questions answered as best I can. But sometimes they come in so quickly that I can't read them fast enough. Okay. Carrie asks, what about phosphorus for people who are over empathetic? Yes, phosphorus could be a good remedy. It is not if I look here and I look under ailments from bad news, phosphorus I'm sure is going to show up here. Where is it? Yes, phosphorus does show up. But phosphorus is a lower level number for this particular problem. So if the problem was that she's overly empathetic, then we might think of phosphorus first, but that's not the problem. The problem is that she feels this depression with a quivering and shakiness. So that may still be true that she's empathetic, but we have to go after the problem. What is the suffering? What is the concern? What did she contact me about? She did not contact me about, I'm too empathetic. It's all I ever think about is other people. I'm too empathetic. I'm picking up on vibes from all kinds of people. That's not what she said to me. It's that she was feeling very low and shaky. And that's different than, that's secondary. It's useful. It can perhaps shore up our decision, but our remedy must first be chosen based on what the suffering is. She's shaky, trembling from sadness. Okay, can you repeat the last one you added? I think I don't know how I said them in order. It was aurum metallicum plus coffea. Not mixed. They're not mixed. They're taken separately. Generally, Aurum metallicum 200C is taken every other day, sometimes every 3 days. And Coffea cruda 200C is taken twice daily, but especially before bed. I like to use Coffea cruda 200C starting before bed, and then the next dose is in the morning if they need it. What about an aggravation of the aurum? I don't know. Why would you have an aggravation? I'm not sure I understand. I know what an aggravation is, but I don't know why aurum would create an aggravation. In other words, if you're maybe you're asking me if the remedy is incorrect, will aurum cause an aggravation? Not with a few doses. Not very likely that that would happen at all. Both being used in the same schedule. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. In the same schedule for the same person, not at the same moment taken simultaneously in the mouth. They're going to be taken separately, 5-10 minutes apart. And one is taken every other day, and the other one is taken once or twice daily. See how it works? Okay, let's see what else we've got here. And then I'm going to hop off in just a minute and go to my Mighties, Joette's Mighty members. I like to be able to do that these days because I think that my Mighty members deserve a little extra time. My mother died next to me in our car while rushing her to the hospital. I was so shocked by her death that I now suffer with heart palpitations. My doctor wants to do an ablation, but I'm reluctant. No kidding. I'm taking a heart pill. Would these meds you speak of work for me? It's possible. I'm not going to prescribe for you, but I am going to tell you that that you need a medicine that's specific for heart palpitations. That is also from grief and from shock. And so I talk about this in much greater detail in Joette's Learning Center if you scroll down to Mindful Homeopathy. But there are other medicines that are closer to your need. I'm really sorry to hear this, Margie. My heart goes out to you. I know I was with my mother when she passed away as well. Okay. All right, my friends, I'm going to say good night for now and see you next week. And my prayers are with all of you who are out there suffering. I know that is what humanity goes through on a regular basis, is suffering. So my prayers are with you. And so I'm going to say good night, and I'm going off to Mighty. So those of you who are in Mighty, stay with me.